Hello everyone, I am Guiyang, a single girl from Guiyang, but she has an extraordinary heart. On a sultry afternoon in 2011, she hid in the library and accidentally opened a book about Taiwan. The snacks, night markets and warm human touch described in the book instantly ignited her dream. From that moment on, she made up her mind to set foot on this land in person and look for the beautiful life described in the book. Next, I will use the first person to tell the girl's experience in Taiwan. I remember that it was in 2011. On that humid and sultry afternoon in Guiyang, I was hiding in the library alone to enjoy the air conditioning. At that time, the college entrance examination had just ended, and I was very nervous. I didn't know what school I could get into. I casually flipped through the books on the shelf and saw a book about Taiwan. The cover was a snack night market, which was very prosperous and lively. Speaking of the impression of Taiwan at that time, I knew that there was Alishan, a Taipei 101 building, and J, a Yufan Old Street. But what was written in that book really fascinated me all of a sudden. The book describes the little things in the streets and alleys of Taipei. The clerks in the convenience stores always say welcome with a smile no matter how late it is. The aunties at the roadside stalls cook braised pork rice without rushing. Even the bus drivers will wait for the elderly to sit down before driving. Think about how we fight for seats and squeeze into the bus every day. There are a lot of people in the subway who are busy looking at their phones and bumping into each other. When you go to the convenience store to buy things, the cashier doesn't even bother to smile at you. When you are queuing up at the breakfast shop downstairs, the boss lady shouts loudly, "Hurry up," and there are people waiting behind. Every time I hear it, I feel that I have no appetite. At that time, my parents were worried about the mortgage all day long, and almost all their monthly salary was spent on it. My mother bought vegetables at the vegetable market and bargained to the last penny. Every time I saw other children wearing branded clothes, my father sighed and said that our family was not well off. But they still saved money to raise tuition for me. Such a life was suffocating. I thought how nice it would be if I could go to Taiwan to have a look. When I went to college, I started thinking about saving money. I was studying in Chongqing at that time, and my monthly living expenses were 500 yuan. I wrote down every penny in a small notebook. I had a 3 yuan steamed bun for breakfast, an 8 yuan canteen set meal for lunch, and bread at night. When my roommates went shopping on the weekend, I said I had a stomachike. When they went to the movies, I said I had to review my lessons. In fact, I felt very uncomfortable, but when I thought of Taiwan, I got motivated again. I went to class during the day, and I looked for part-time jobs everywhere at night, serving tea and water in a milk tea shop and tutoring junior high school students. I went to the mall to hand out flyers on weekends. At that time, I was exhausted. My legs were swollen after standing all day handing out flyers. When I was tutoring, I had to smile even when I met disobedient children. The owner of the milk tea shop always deducted my salary, saying that my performance was not good, but there was no way. For the sake of my dream, I had to grit my teeth and stand up no matter how hard it was. When I graduated, I found a job with a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan. I worked as a clerk in a small company in Guiyang. I had to get up at 7 o'clock every morning to squeeze into the bus to go to work. The air conditioning in the office was always broken. Was as hot as a steamer in the summer. The boss always liked to find faults and asked me to work overtime at any time, but I didn't give any overtime pay. I thought to myself that when I go to Taiwan, I must stay in a place with a particularly good air conditioning. In order to save money, I moved to an old community outside the Second Ring Road. The house was built in the 1990s. The wall paint was peeling off. The corridor smelled very bad. There weren't any mosquitoes in the summer and the draft was leaking in the winter. It was very painful to live there. I had to take 2 buses to go to work every day. The one-way trip took an hour and a half. I had to get up at more than 5 in the morning and get home at more than 9 in the evening. When I got home, I was so tired that I didn't even want to eat, but I still had to cook noodles by myself because takeout was too expensive. My colleagues always said that I was stupid and said that there was nothing good about Taiwan. It was still a place. My parents also advised me that it would be better to save the money to buy a house, but I was determined to achieve this goal. After 5 years of frugal living, I finally saved up 20,000 yuan. On the day I booked the flight, my hands were shaking for fear that something would go wrong. A week before departure, I checked the weather forecast every day and made a list of several pages of things to bring. Fearing that I would not have enough money, I borrowed a credit card again, but I agreed with myself that I would only use it in emergencies. When packing my luggage, I thought about it and saved everything I could. I only brought a small tube of toothpaste and a few sets of clothes to change, so that I could wear them again after washing. Early that morning, my mother insisted on sending me to the airport. I said no, but she still forced me into a taxi. On the way, she kept reminding me to talk less, look at the road more, and not to chat up with strangers. I thought to myself, my mother thinks Taiwan is like a foreign country. When we arrived at the airport, she also stuffed a red envelope in my hand, saying that I should buy some delicious food there. I hugged her and almost cried. When I arrived at Taoyuan Airport, I felt that even the air was particularly When I passed the customs, the staff asked me with a smile, "Miss, is this your first time in Taiwan?" I nodded, and she introduced enthusiastically, saying that you would take the airport MRT to Taipei later, and remember to buy an easy card, which is more convenient. Such a friendly attitude made me relax a lot at once. After leaving the airport, I was dumbfounded. The route map on the bus station was clearly marked, even in Braille, and the font size was just right so that the elderly could see it clearly. When waiting for the bus, everyone lined up consciously and did not push or shove. When the bus came, everyone let the elderly get on first, and even offered their seats to pregnant women. I was stunned watching from behind, thinking that this was too civilized. On the first day, I stayed in a youth hostel near XIM Ending. Although the room was small, it was clean and tidy, and the quilt and pillow were all lightly scented. The proprietor was an aunt in her 40s. Seeing that I came alone, she drew a map for me and told me to text her if I came back too late at night. I rented a house in Guiyang for a year, and I had never even met the landlord, let alone such a caring person. As soon as it was night, I went straight to the night market in the city. There was an episode on the way. I accidentally dropped my wallet on the ground. When I found it, I was almost crying. As a result, a boy who looked like a primary school student chased me for several streets. He was out of breath and said, "Empty your wallet." I was so moved that I couldn't speak. I took out 20 yuan to give it to him, but he waved his hand and said, "No, this is what I should do. If it was in the mainland, I'm afraid I can't find my wallet back." The owners of the snack stalls in the night market are also very interesting. When I was eating Guiyang, the boss saw that I was eating it voraciously, so he smiled and said to eat slowly. It's hot, and specially gave me one more piece. I ate braised pork rice, and the boss lady saw that I was alone and brought me a stool and asked me to sit there to eat. Everyone was very enthusiastic and didn't doctor customers away at all. It reminded me of the small stalls here where they always complain that you eat too slowly and urged you to take a seat. When I went to Longshan Temple in the morning, I met a group of elderly people dancing in the square. However, it was different from ours. The music was very quiet and the dance was very elegant. When I saw me taking pictures, an old lady came over and asked me if I wanted to dance with her. Although I was embarrassed to dance, I felt very warm in my heart when I saw them having fun. At the Chink Ashek Memorial Hall, I accidentally sprained my ankle. A young mother supported me without saying a word and took out a Band-Aid and medicated oil from her bag. Her husband saw this and quickly went to buy a bottle of water. They accompanied me to rest for a long time and called the security guard to help me find a medical room. When I was leaving, the aunt stuffed the oil in my hand and said to take it with me in case I needed it. Such enthusiastic strangers are rare in mainland China. When I went to Jiayufan, the weather was not very good and it was drizzling. I was hiding from the rain in a small shop. There was an old lady in the shop. She poured me a cup of hot tea without saying a word. I said no, but she said it was so cold and I should drink a cup of hot tea to warm myself up. Then she started chatting with me about her family life, her youth, her son working in Taipei, and the changes in this old street. I just listened quietly, feeling very warm. What I remember most is going to Eslite bookstore one night. The books there are much cheaper than here, and you can read them at will. No one will rush you. I read for 3 hours in one go. The clerk not only didn't rush me, but also recommended me a few books. Before leaving, an old man gave me a hand-painted map of Taipei with many niche attractions marked on it. He said that this was something he drew for fun when he had nothing to do. Seeing that I was so interested in Taipei, he gave it to me. In Tam Sui Old Street, I met an old couple releasing sky lantern. They saw me taking pictures next to them, so they asked me to come over and release them together. The old man said, "Write a wish and it will come true." I wrote on the lantern that I hope to come to Taiwan again. Watching the sky lantern slowly rise into the sky, my tears fell. The old lady even took pictures for me with a camera, saying that she wanted to remember this beautiful moment. On the last day, I went to a convenience store on purpose. During these days in Taiwan, I found that convenience stores are simply community centers. The clerks remember what kind of coffee regulars like to drink, know which old man needs to buy newspapers every morning, and remind the neighbor aunt to pick up the package. I bought some snacks to take back to my colleagues. The cashier knew that I was going back to the mainland and gave me a kite cane, saying it was a souvenir. On the return flight, I cried again. These 10 days of experience made me understand what human touch is. The beauty of Taiwan does not lie in how prosperous it is, but in its warmth everywhere. Those tiny kindnesses and those subtle cares constitute the most precious travel memories. Now back in Guiyang, I started saving money again. My colleagues said I was stupid and asked what was good about that place. Aren't both sides of the Taiwan Strait the same? But I know that it is different there. Only those who have been there can understand. I wrote my experience online. Some people say that I am too idealistic, but I think that kind of warmth is real. These days, I often think of every little thing about Taiwan. The Long Shan Temple in the morning, the Tam Sui River at dusk, the Shilin night market at night, and the kind strangers and the warm smile. This makes me feel that the world is worth living. I know I will definitely go there again, because there is the life I yearn for and the warmth I expect. That's all for today's video. If you think what I said is interesting, please like and follow me. Your support is my biggest motivation to update. Thank you.